membership report.
Okay, we are now up to 63 memberships. And since our last meeting, we have some new members and one returning member. Terry Pyle, Mel Beard, Scott Mitchell, and we want to welcome back Valerie Holstead. And I don't think we have any guests with us tonight, but we hope you enjoy sticking with us all year. And again, come back next year too.
Hey, Jim, are you seeing the presentation?
I've got a copy of it beside me.
Is it showing up?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right, good.
Yeah, it's showing up. The next thing, flip the next page. I think we haven't had the final discussion as a board, but I think we're going to go back to in-person meetings at the church in April. But we're going to also have a dual virtual. So those that are still uncomfortable meeting in person, we're going to set it up where they can follow us on the computer.
And I think, Jim, we talked about it too. I mean, staying with Zoom gives us the advantage of being able to bring speakers in from anywhere.
Right.
So
right.
I can't see us going off Zoom anytime soon.
Yeah. No, and Chuck and I'll be visiting the guys that are upgrading our system at the church, making sure we're comfortable with how their system is working. But we've been doing that at the church for quite a while, doing in-person and Zoom at the same time.
Yeah.
So you'll get more information from that. Okay, next one.
Let me talk a little bit about our virtual workshops.
Yeah.
We've got the virtual workshops coming up. We just had one on walkthrough on Lightroom. We are coming up with iPhoneography, and I'll let Jim, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I've updated the iPhone photography workshop. Has much more. It's much more involved with the iPhone 11, 12, and even the 10. Less so of the 7 and 8, since most people are trading up. So it'll, I learn something every time I add to it and prepare it. So I'm thinking it'll be informative for everybody that attends.
Can I say something real quick? The last workshop, I had forgotten to sign up, actually do the sign up for it. And at the last minute I tried and it was full. So if you really have a workshop that you want to see, I suggest signing up early.
Good point.
Well, the unfortunate thing is, I mean, we are doing this for the library also, so it's a public deal. We typically have 35, 40 people sign up and about 10 or 15 show up. So, and that's just very common. I've talked to the library, they have that problem with all their workshops. So they fill up, that's it. And that's what it is. In May, Jim Himanga is going to do a workshop on Photoshop elements. And then Kathy will do something on night photography in June. And I'll flesh out the schedule after that. Our photographer's lunch, by the way, is still on every Wednesday at 12:30. If you want to talk about everything but photography, you can come to that lunch. And of course, we will talk photography you want to do. And then our post-processing SIG, special interest group, is this every third Thursday. So it's this coming Thursday. And we're going to be talking about mastering curves. Jim, do you have anything to say on SIG, on your SIG?
Well, at some point in time, we will continue again. We've had a couple of issues with a couple of folks who have been a little bit hesitant getting together again, in person and everything, and a little difficulty getting some models that felt comfortable and so forth. But yes, we will continue as early as we can. So, I mean, it's still on the table as soon as we can get all the details worked out.
Yeah, it's good.
I think sometime, I'm not sure it will be in April, but well, we'll see. Maybe towards the end of April, but probably by May, I would think we should be back in operation again.
Well, hopefully so. Okay, good. Hey, I don't know
It
if
would be nice if maybe we said, if you've had the vaccine, if you're fully vaccinated, you're welcome. If you're not vaccinated, please wear a mask or something,
Mhm. Yeah.
or both.
Yeah, let's wear a
Well,
mask regardless.
I think one of our early ones will be an outside portraiture, natural light and stuff like that.
Right.
So that should cut down a lot on some of the hesitation and so forth.
Yeah, I think this portraiture with masks on is going to be interesting.
Guess who it is, right?
There you go.
Might be
Anyway, it's a good deal.
topical anyway.
I'm going to go on. I don't know if Chris is here, but I'll do this next one here. Chris, are you in there?
Oh, wow.
Not there.
Chris isn't there. Okay,
I'll
Chuck.
let- Yeah, I'll say a couple of things. And Chris thought up this idea of the monthly mini contest, and it's people submit pictures on the website, and at the end of and then they vote on the pictures the weekend before the meeting, and then we look at the pictures with the most votes and call that the winner. So we have two of them here, and you'll see the themes there on the side. Cold. Last month the theme was green, and then the next month it's doors. So please go, please participate. We had quite a lot of very nice pictures here. This one from Kathy got tied with another picture. So we have two winners this month. Kathy's picture she took, I think, probably in Iceland. Beautiful picture of the aurora and the reflection of the water there. And Kathy she's going to do a workshop on night photography coming up, and you can see why. She does a beautiful job. So that's her picture. And then we have Scott, who gives us this green alligator. And I love that's the one I frankly that's the one I voted for, just because, man, God, that's something else. We just talked about
Good.
I don't know how he did it that way. We just talked about alligators. Look at the teeth on that. I just went to the dentist today. I don't know if the dentist would approve of that.
Who was the one that had the alligator with the turtle in its mouth?
Oh, that was
That was
Emily.
me.
Oh, yeah.
But it
That
wasn't.
was quite a photo.
Anyway,
Yeah, it was. That was kind of amazing.
it was.
What is next month's topic?
Next month's topic is doors.
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 Doors, D-O-O-R?
No.
Yes.
Well, if you want to do that, that's fine. But it's doors. D is in dog. Dog, Oscar,
Yeah.
Oscar. Okay, doors.
R. Yeah, that's what I said, but maybe it didn't.
Oh,
come
that
across.
sounded like B. Boars.
Yeah, we have some of those.
We do,
Okay.
Bill. I'll get out of the way here. Let's talk now.
Okay, Ann, you're up.
Yes. We got a field trip planned for this April coming up on April 24th. Now, this is not a pop-up or anything like that. This is a planned field trip, and it has to be that day so that we can see the babies. We went to this place a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. We were going to go last year. Of course, it was canceled. But this year we're going, and we're going at a different time of the year so that we can actually see the nestlings and their parents taking care of them. And so anyway, we'll meet at the Baptist Church at noon, so we can carpool, or you can meet us there. It's a Smith Oak Sanctuary. You'll need a tripod. I didn't get take a tripod last time and was sorry. And the longer lens you have, the more detail you're going to get. This picture there is one I took, and it was about a 200. You're really close to the birds. I mean, you can't help but see birds. And they have a new platform that's tall. John, what's John Gray? How busy have they been?
Not too busy. This weekend that you chose is pretty good. It's the weekend after Featherfest, so it won't be horrible.
Yeah. See, and that's why that weekend, we wanted to have a Saturday because we're always having these weekday trips and we figure we're leaving out working people.
Yep.
So this will be on a Saturday, and the Saturdays before that is the Featherfest, and before that is the pre-Featherfest. So really there isn't another day in April where we're going to catch these birds like that. But
Can
it's
I
going to be
ask-
warm. There you bring sunscreen, mosquito repellent, and of course if it's raining, it's no fun to photograph anything.
Can I ask that if people have, not all of us have really long lenses, and if if someone that's going has an extra, if they wouldn't mind bringing it to share, that some of us could borrow to use specifically for this.
I have two.
I have an
Nikon
extra
lenses.
Sony, but I don't know who has Sony.
Yeah, I think you
Well,
have
if we
to
get-
specify Nikon, Canon, or Sony.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we just get, I need a Canon, but if we just get a variety, then any of us that, I mean, some people are hesitant to go because they say, well, I don't have a lens long enough to get a good picture. And so,
Well, I have an older Sony and a long lens that can go with it that I could bring to, if you
Well,
want to
how long
try
are
and
you
use it
talking
as a
about?
camera.
How long are you talking about? Like 600 millimeter?
No,
oh,
Yeah.
no, just like 400.
600.
Oh, I
Ellen,
didn't know who the question
Canon?
was to.
Yeah, Ellen, I shot just with the 70 to 200 and got great pictures. So just. with
Okay,
the
then
silver.
never mind.
Ellen, if you have a Canon, I've got the 70 to 200 f2.8 Canon. I'll let you borrow.
Well, yeah, I have a 250. I just was thinking
Oh,
like,
okay.
like a 400.
Okay, I don't have that.
Well, I can bring my camera and a 600 if you want it.
Just to try it.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know, maybe
Okay.
nobody else has that request, but
This is, the picture you see here is distance from the birds. Now, when you get it to the actual photography to the wildlife center, I mean, you feel like you can reach out and touch them almost. They're
Really?
pretty close, right?
mm,
But so you can get some nice photos. I just, last time I didn't have a long lens and this time I have one and I'm really looking forward to trying it.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think they're farther away, at least last time we went, they were farther away than they used to be.
Really?
Used to be a lot closer. But still with a 200 or more, you do fine.
Yeah. The wildflower trip is going to be sometime in April, and hopefully they're supposed to be good this year. Especially the bluebonnets. He said the snow was actually good for bluebonnets, and put a little bit of water on the ground, which was supposedly will get them going, and they should be coming up peaking in mid-April. Is what I hear.
And I just heard from a friend of mine that lives in Round Top, and he said the bluebonnets are starting to come out now.
Yeah.
Really?
They're coming out. We have some at the school gardens and they're starting to pop out, but
Yeah.
they get to their prettiest probably around April 5th to the 15th.
Okay.
John Ferry Garden has not announced their May open days. They have an open day the same day that we're going down to the rookeries, but their May days have not been announced. They have open days 2 Saturdays a month. So they were also hard hit by this freeze because they have a lot of Mexican plants. So we want to give them a little chance to recover.
Okay.
okay.
Is Steve on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you want to talk about this?
Sure. All right. So we're kind of getting this thing going, trying to understand the details of it. I have put together just a rough itinerary, and Jim and I are going to kind of present that for reaction, I think in May?
The May program is going to be the Black Hills.
Yeah, so we'll do that in May, but we kind of got about 7 days lined out. I think we're shooting for September 20th through the 25th, something like that.
19th through 25th, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
When you say 7 days, are you talking about 7 days there or going and coming?
We haven't finalized that, but my guess is we'll have 5 solid days of photography, maybe 6, where you come in on day 1 and you leave on day 7 or 8.
Hey, what days were those?
What we penciled in, and we haven't dealt with the details, is everybody would arrive on Sunday, the 19th of September, and we'd be finished on Saturday, the 25th.
Okay. The reason I'm asking it, I have it on the website. I just need to flesh it out with some detail. And I know the dates can change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the week. we're talking about.
Sure. I mean, I'll flesh that out on the website. Okay.
So, yeah, we kind of set up a rough itinerary, and we're talking full days, because I know it's gonna take some time for the stops we'll make to take the pictures. But we've got a full, 7 days worth of stuff, plus a bunch of other things if we want to do them. So we'll kind of, plug and play as as those who come want to see certain things, we can switch stuff around.
Yeah.
And one thing I did do is I also joined the Black Hills Photo Club, since I'm going to be up there for a good portion of the year, and reached out to them and said, hey, we got a photo club from Houston area coming up in September, looking for input and maybe even getting together and having a shared event. And they were excited about that, and they were gonna, in fact, that when I presented that to the person in charge, they had a board meeting the next day, and they said, sure, that sounds like a great idea. We can set something up. And so I also sent them a rough itinerary, and they're going to look it over to see if I've missed something that, on a photographer's bucket list of the Black Hills stuff we ought to be including. So hopefully we'll get everything that everybody wants to see and get a chance to pull it all together.
I love your frame around your head there, Steve, by the way. I just want to comment on it. I just like that. It's floating there in the air. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to pick the hotel. Everybody's going to make their own hotel reservation. Everybody's going to make their own airline reservations. We're going to coordinate the rental cars. May have groups, depending on how big it is, going different places. But, and we need, I think Steve and I are shooting that by the May meeting, everybody who is going to go has committed to go.
And in order to commit, it's pretty easy. There's something on the website. If you go under events, you're going to find this thing set up under events, and there's a little form that you fill out, and that form will send an email to Steve and to Jim saying that you're committing. All right.
And if anybody has questions, they can call me, they can call Steve.
Is there a limit to how many you take?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, we're all going up on our own. Is that right?
Yeah, everybody's going to get there on their own. And you can go up early, you can stay later.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a block of time that's going to be the club activities are going to be around that.
Yeah.
I might even go up a little early.
Yeah.
And
We'll just have to
already be
also-
up there.
We'll have to work out the details on vehicles and ride sharing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's why we kind of need to know how many people to figure out how many vehicles we'll need to rent for the event.
Okay.
Okay. Well, our speaker tonight is John Stacy. You can read real quickly on there that he's a master naturalist. I got to know John 20-something years ago when we both worked for Citgo, and he joined our backpacking trip. Little did we realize that we would be backpacking 1 week a year for 20 years. And John was our resident chef. He could make the dehydrated food very edible. He brought about 6 pounds of spices since he was living in Lake Charles. Everything had to have a Cajun flavor to it.
Oh, yes.
And, but we got to know each other a lot. He's retired, I've retired. He's gone into the nature trail building business along Spring Creek, and he'll tell you some of the other places. But he's going to talk to us a little bit about what we're going to see if we go into the woods around here. John?
So I've done this as long as, I'm losing time here. So this is the outfit I volunteer with. If those of you are familiar with the Bayou Land Conservancy, or if you've ever heard of the Nature Conservancy, most of you get outdoors. So the Nature Conservancy is a land trust that saves lands around the world. This is a land trust that focuses right here in our immediate region. So they put lands under conservation easements to protect them forever, so they can't be developed. So a lot of the land around here that you know that hasn't been developed is because it's under the Bayou Land Conservancy's conservation. They've got about 14,000 acres and about 63 different preserves. And I help monitor those to make sure that people aren't poaching, logging, polluting the water, developing. We found illegal logging, all sorts of things. But I'd urge you, if you like getting outdoors around here, to go to their website, bayoulandconservancy.org. If you want to reach me, that's how, Spring Creek Nature Trail, because I've been involved in building about 15.5 mile nature trail along Spring Creek, both in Harris and Montgomery County. And you may not be aware, but the Houston boundary between Harris and Montgomery is actually the longest greenway in the continental United States. It's a 33-mile long greenway. And people think you have to go to Colorado to see some nature. But this is available and much more detailed GPS information if you go to the Bayou Land Conservancy's website. But this is a little brochure that we hand out. And you can see our nature trail runs primarily through the woodlands, but it runs from the east side, almost on I-45, all the way to the west over in Burroughs Park, which is in Harris. So it crosses Harris County and Montgomery County. And it's been built over the last 6 years, totally by volunteers. It's got 28 bridges and boardwalks, all built by volunteers. And it's not open to motorized traffic. It's for hikers, runners, bicyclists. And I will say that bridge is not closed. So you can go in anywhere, find the trailheads. You can jump in and have as much or as little of it as you want. For you birders, if you really want to go out and see some fantastic birds, we've got an internationally known birder who's part of my trail crew who takes tours out Saturdays and many Mondays. So you can reach out to me or the Bayou Land Conservancy if you want to go out with the birders. But if you go out on my trail, you're going to see some distinct wildlife. Here's some of the wildlife you might run into. That's one of my crews. I'm up there holding the hammer to keep them all in line, kneeling down. But those are our volunteers. That's one of the bridges we've built. And we'll get out every Wednesday. When we finish, we've been known to drink a beer or two. And we'll go out on Saturdays if enough people want to. So, but what I want to talk about is what you're apt to run into. I heard one of you say something I thought was very interesting about your photographs. You said you want to know the story behind it. That's what I like to talk about. I'm going to talk to you about some of the animals and some of the plants that you walk around every day. And with one exception, I don't care about their Latin names. I care about what's interesting. And everything has a story. So right here, you're looking at Bambi. Everybody loves Bambi, the white-tailed deer. If you're a wildlife biologist or a naturalist, you call this a large rat. When the Europeans got here, it's estimated there were about 300,000 white-tailed deer in the continental US. In the 1930s, hunters thought they were shooting too many of them, so they were actually the genesis of the first hunting regulations in the US, and it worked. Right now, there's well in excess of 30 million white-tailed deer in the US, and they eat everything. There's no predators, since very few people actually hunt any longer. No cougars, no bears. So these animals have proliferated, and that's really not good for them, nor is it good for us. They eat everything they can reach, and so they'll actually change the ecology of an area of the woods. I can take you down areas around Rayford Road that now are pretty much wastelands because the deer have eaten everything. And when they do that, the invasive plants come in that the deer don't eat. So the whole ecology changes. So when you see people putting up feeders to feed bamboo, having said that, and I can either stop with questions come up or whenever, and I have no idea what that's telling me. Everyone thinks this is the scary predator in your neighborhood. It's not. The coyote's closest cousin is a jackal. They're scavengers. They're not really hunters. They'll eat garbage, they'll eat mice, they'll eat rodents. And yes, if you let your cats out at night, they'll maybe eat your cat. Which is one reason why, by the way, it's illegal in Harris County to let your cats out at night.
Right.
They attract coyotes. Coyotes, people have a myth that they hear a big pack of coyotes running loose in the neighborhood. Coyotes will stay with their mate and maybe 1 or 2 yearlings, and then they'll run them off. And people say, John, you're full of bull. I heard 30 of them. They're scavengers. They have a trick. Their vocal cords are actually shaped in a way that make 1 or 2 of them make all those howling, terrifying noises. If you are a scavenger competing in nature for dead animals with mountain lions and bears, do you think having that trick to make it sound like there's 30 of you would be a useful survival mechanism?
Yeah.
And they're very adaptable. There's now more coyotes living in the cities than there are in the country. As long as they have food and a place to make a den, and that can be Memorial Hospital's parking lot in downtown Houston, coyotes will fill the space. If you hunt them out, they will actually speed up their reproductive cycle to create more coyotes to fill the space available. So we're going to live with coyotes for the long term, but they're a nocturnal animal. They're early dawn, early evening. Unless you're in the deep woods in the dark at 2 in the afternoon, you probably won't see one. It is the cause of a lot of the myth of people swearing they saw a mountain lion. No, you saw a coyote. Here is the top predator.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Bobcat. If you have ever seen one, consider yourself fortunate. They're about twice the size of a domestic house cat. The males can get like 21 pounds, but it'll be the male and maybe 1 or 2 females, and their territory is about 8 miles. So they're nocturnal, so they're mainly out at night, and they're ranging over about 8 miles. So you're not about to be overrun with bobcats. And I really hope you get a chance to see one. You can see it's got the short tail, hence the bobs, and it's got the tough ear spikes, which that and its size are pretty much the giveaways. They're holding their own population-wise. They don't seem to have a problem with people, so their population is stable.
Do they live in urban areas?
They absolutely do. But remember, they range very far. So where you have green belts, as you do, you have a possibility of finding a bobcat. But
They've been seen here on the golf course, and I saw one on the San Jacinto River when I was kayaking.
yeah, you're very fortunate because it's hard to see them in the daytime because they'll normally be nested up. But If you hear a noise in your attic and you go upstairs and you see beady eyes looking at you, I want you to go back down the stairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Shut the door.
Yeah. Call. Raccoons also get along real well with people. They eat almost anything. They're omnivores. They love people who have bird feeders outside, who put bird or dog food on the back porch. They usually are in a loose pack, 4 or 5 of them. If you've ever watched raccoons, you know they're incredibly dexterous. They can move their hands. They wash their food. They're cute unless they're in your attic or they get in your car. I caught one in a live trap one time in a koi pond. And those are those traps that have the metal cages and there's no way to get your hands up. And it was 2 a.m. and I said, I'll handle it in the morning. I went to bed and the next morning it was gone.
Wow.
I think it called its friends. But raccoons are really amazing. They have about 15 different sounds and over 200 sounds that equate to words. So they actually can talk to each other in the same manner humans can. This ungainly creature is actually the state mammal of Texas. Who'd have thought? The Spanish named it the little turtle rabbit or the armored rabbit. Came up from Mexico. They have almost no eyesight. They're almost blind. If you see them in the morning skittering across your street when you go for a walk at 7 a.m, they've got a tremendous sense of smell, which is why they're digging up your flower beds. They're after grubs and insects, and your flower bed or your lawn is a lot softer and full of bugs a lot more than other places. So they'll roto-root your vegetable garden for you if you let them. It used to be the standard solution to catching armadillos was to get a teenage boy and give him money to pick it up by its tail and throw it in a garbage can.
No.
But I don't recommend it. It's a mammal and it has a lower body temperature than most mammals, which makes it a host for leprosy. So I just leave them alone. 2 interesting things. They always have 4 twins as babies. And they're not just birth twins, they're from the same egg. So they're absolutely identical 4 offspring. And they're unbearably cute when you see 4 little ones waddling behind mama. However, a survival mechanism, if you've ever driven up to Austin in the spring and you see a lot of squished armadillos on the highway, when they're startled, they jump straight up in the air about 3.5 feet, which is great unless you're driving over them in your F-150 pickup truck and they jump straight up in the air, which is why you get squished armadillo. You photographers are going to mock and jeer at me. Sorry for the crummy photo. This little creepy animal is about the size of a cat. How many of you ever seen one on your back fence or something?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
In the yard, at the back door,
I think they're cute.
wanting in.
They're cute unless people really don't understand where the phrase playing possum comes from. My sister-in-law found one on the beach in Galveston and put it in a shoebox with some toilet paper to nurse it back to health, brought it into the condo, at which point it woke up and snarled with all their little pointy teeth and scared the hell out of the whole family.
No kidding.
They really do play possum. But they're a great creature. They're actually one of the oldest mammals on Earth. They're 65, 70 million years old. And they eat a tremendous amount of bugs and particularly ticks. They will vacuum up every tick in your yard. So if you find one or some babies on your back fence, leave them alone. They're nocturnal. They're not going to be out going through your garbage, and they're going to keep your yard really safe from bad bugs. And one of these stories about them is true. They're pretty immune to venom. Okay, everybody with me? I hadn't
Yeah.
lost too many.
No,
All
we're good.
right.
And I'm in the middle of a Zoom meeting.
Okay, here is Godzilla. We created this.
Yeah.
It's on humans.
30, 40 minutes.
You all in Kingwood have experienced feral hogs. They were brought over by the Spanish originally, about 1539. They brought some hogs over, turned them loose in the woods for meat. And guess what? The hogs really liked it. That went along fine. They reproduced like crazy. In about 1920, American hunters said, oh, we got to get bigger hogs. So they brought over, imported a bunch of Russian swine. Same thing in the 1950s. They brought in more Russian boars to interbreed. And we created this incredibly smart monster. Hogs are omnivorous. They eat everything they can reach. So they'll wipe out snakes, birds, anything on the ground, turtles. They will decimate the wildlife in an area. Plus, they create wallows. If you go out along the West Fork or any place like that, you'll see areas along the water where they've dug these big mud pits because they have to roll in mud. They don't sweat, so they need to get wet to stay cool. And where they destroy that area, the native plants are not adapted to reclaim it, so they're destroying the whole habitat. To give you an example of what they can do, I got this picture from your neighborhood. This is one night in Kingwood. This was after, I think, the tax day flood when some of the hogs got flushed out of the bottoms. And this homeowner went out in the morning and this is what he saw. I've seen areas 300 yards across that a shoal of hogs, which is a herd of hogs, will do, where they just rototill the ground 300-400 yards across in one night.
I was kayaking one time with a friend who'd never been kayaking, and one of these things walked out of the trees, and she said, "Oh my God, it's a bear!" And I said, "We don't have bears here in Kingwood. That's a hog."
Yeah.
It was so big she thought it was a bear.
They sadly, we don't have any effective control on them. There's right now, they estimate around 7 million in the US, and half of those are in Texas.
Yeah.
They make 3 litters a year. Each litter can have up to 6 piglets. If they have their shoal, their herd gets thinned out, they will increase their reproductive rate. They're smart. So where these guys go out and put those little corn feeders up and a little box trap and shoot a hog, hogs have been shown to teach their offspring down to 3 generations, and they can teach their offspring to avoid that area. Texas 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, thought they had a great idea. They legalized shooting hogs from helicopters. And landowners who'd been leasing their land for deer hunting would lease their land to these outfitters who would take helicopters. And all these sorts of people who like to dress up like they're SEAL Team 6 and shoot automatic rifles and AR-15s would pay a lot of money to get on a helicopter and go shoot hogs. The landowner made money, the outfitter made money, the guys with guns were not shooting street signs, and we were killing hogs. Everybody won. 2 years later, the hogs learned, and now when they hear the sound of a helicopter, the whole bunch goes under brush. We created Viet Cong hogs. So that's probably one of the worst issues we have. But everybody gets freaked out about snakes. Okay, here's a little ribbon snake. We've got about 57 kinds of snakes around here, and only about 3 of them are venomous. We'll talk about them. But I want to urge you, if your neighbor sees a snake, tell him not to get a shovel and go kill it. The odds are it's a very harmless snake, and think about it. They eat bugs, cockroaches, other snakes. If we don't have snakes, you're going to have all those other things, rats. So the herpetologists, like birders, can go down a crazy rat hole and talk to death. But if none of you, I take it, are herpetologists. So the 2 ways I look at a snake is look at the head on this snake. This is a yellow-bellied water snake. It's a good-sized snake, perfectly harmless to humans, but it's got kind of that rounded head, nice sort of round head. And it's also got round eyes. Now, I personally don't like to get close enough to snakes to look at the shape of their eyes. When we encounter a snake, we just tell everybody to stay away. There it is, leave it be. But the head of that one is pretty typical for a non-venomous snake. Whereas this boy, now, I hate to say it, but every boy that grew up in the south of the US, every time he sees a snake in the water, he goes, cottonmouth. And 90% of the time, he's wrong. This one is a cottonmouth, though. Look at that head. It's very triangular, very flat. This snake has a big, heavy body, and you cannot really tell the banding because they're a blotchy snake. There'll be different blotches, but it's always in or on around the banks of water. And if you see snakes in the water swimming, they make a writhing motion as they propel themselves. This snake will actually make an S in the water, and it'll be under the water level. And it'll come up, it'll go, and it'll go like that. So it has a very distinctive swimming. If you're in a kayak and you see a big, heavy snake, and it's making that S curve, I'd suggest you move. I get along with all God's creatures. I encounter snakes every week. And to be blunt, I don't like this snake. It's not timid. It won't get away from you. It'll defend its turf. But it is one of the 3 venomous snakes that are going to be very common if you get down along the water. Jim asked me about this boy. If you see this is a small snake, usually about 18 inches long, full grown, very colorful. Again, all the years I've spent stomping around down in these swamps, I've only really seen 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them. The color is the key. The old Southern boy expression was red on yellow, kill a fellow. So you see the color band, the reds touch the yellow. That's important because most of the time when you see this snake, it's actually going to be a harmless Louisiana milk snake that looks just like this, but the colors are arranged in a different sequence. The Louisiana milk snake is doing a very common nature trick, and it's pretending it's this deadly venomous snake to protect itself. So if you see this kind of bright snake, look to see if it's red and yellow, but don't get too close. The good news and the bad news, this snake has a very tiny mouth. It has very tiny fangs. About the only way you can get bitten by it is if you pick it up and it can bite you on the web of your hand. The bad news is the last antivenom for it went bad in about 1994, and its closest cousin is the mamba. So it's pretty potent, but very rare. This is not rare. Everybody's seen a copperhead?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, they're coming out now. I've seen them this week. But look at that head. It's triangular. It's just like the cottonmouth. It's a pit viper. It actually hunts with sensory organs in its cheeks, which is why the tongue is flickering. It's picking up chemical compounds. It hunts by that and thermal radiation. So that's why they hunt very well at night. It is very difficult to see a copperhead here in our area because they're very passive. They will lay still. You can step right over them and not even know they're there. Wow. That's one reason why I get aggravated with people who let their dogs run loose. I've carried out 5 dogs whose the parents said, oh, my dog is well behaved. He's not like everybody else's dog. And he got in the underbrush and a copperhead nailed him. So you can walk around it, you can step over it, but they're difficult to see. So I remind people, this is the #1 snake bite in the Houston area. And other than teenage boys with alcohol, the #1 time people get bit is reaching into their backyard patio, doing gardening, sticking their hand in flower pots.
Oh, yeah.
Reaching underneath. Take your trowel, stir things up. Now, you never put your hands in your feet before you look. But this is the deadliest animal around, the southern house mosquito. We got 57 kinds of mosquitoes here in Houston. And only 2 of them worry us. One's been with us forever. And it carries things like West Nile encephalitis. But it is a dawn and dusk feeder. So if you go for a walk at 6 in the morning or 8:30 or 8 o'clock, you want to put on your mosquito repellent and your long sleeves. I have been very unpopular in 2 HOAs because they were paying contractors to spray at midnight. And I said, why are you doing that? And they said, well, people complain with the trucks coming around at 8 o'clock because they're still out walking. And I said, well, I can save your budget 50%. Just give me the money and I won't spray. There's no point in spraying at midnight to kill this mosquito. Nor is there any point in using mosquito magnets or backyard mist fogging systems. They travel over 1/4 mile. So you might want to put a fogging system in your backyard, which by the way will kill a lot of other things. But the minute it's done, this mosquito is going to just fly in from the neighbors. The other mosquito you need to worry about is the Adidas. That's the one that you read that came up here from South America a couple of years ago and has brought us such delightful things as dengue fever. It lives indoors in houses, primarily in poor neighborhoods that don't have screens and air conditioning. But it also lives under the foliage and it feeds in the daytime. So you just have to practice good mosquito management. Every subdivision I live in, people put French drains in to get the water out of your backyard. And nobody ever thought about what's in that drain. That's breeding ground for mosquitoes. So throw some dunks in there. So I'm moving on in the interest of time here, off of the animals, and we'll come back with any questions you got. But before I talk about plants, I don't have time today, but I need to let you know that plants are not stupid. If you do any research, you'll find things like trees do communicate to each other. They actually move. trees can parent. So there's a lot going on in these plants you see. They're not just a green mess when you walk down your sidewalk going down to the local pond. Everything you see has a story, and it's where it is for a reason. So you've seen this dumbass pine tree all around you, right? There is, yeah, it's a pine tree. Not really. What we have now are loblolly pines. It's not what we used to have, but pretty goofy name, right? Anybody have a guess where loblolly came from? It's a bastardization of the Anglo-Celtic word for a porridge pot. When the Irish and the Scots got to the Atlantic coast, Georgia's, Carolinas, the English had already grabbed all the good farmland. So the poor Welsh and Scots and Irish had to go down into the bottom swampland. And this tree grows in swampland, which might explain why it grows very well in Houston. Loblolly, being a bastardization of porridge pot, it's the porridge pot plant. It actually is a great commercial plant. It's been planted in plantations all around the world now. But one of the things that I think is cool, and I love this when I get smart aleck kids on nature walks, most of us are familiar with, all of us have a genome, the DNA that allows our cells to reproduce and the animal, which we are, to procreate. As of currently, this creature has the longest genome sequence known, 21.14 billion pairs, which, in case you're keeping track, is 7 times more than humans. Which means this thing has an incredible library of evolutionary tricks. So that's why it can adapt to so many different environments, because it has got this hereditary ability to pull out tricks. So it's not just a stupid pine tree. Now, if you want to be an expert in your neighborhood and you know it's not a pine tree and you want to impress everybody, we've got a real common tree around here. It's a red oak, the water oak, which gives you a clue as to why it's so prolific here in Houston. It can grow underwater for weeks, doesn't mind soggy soil. It feeds every kind of mammal and bird, and you've got them all over your neighborhood. How do you tell? The most common way to tell is this sort of club-shaped leaf. But trees are tricky. It will grow 5 different kinds of leaf on the same tree. But if you see this club shape in conjunction with what looks like a bunch of teenagers were spray painting the tree 5 years ago, for whatever reason, water oak attracts this banding of white algae. So as you're walking around your neighborhood and you see a hardwood tree with this sort of banding on it, and you look down on the ground or on the new leaves and you see that club shape, you're pretty sure it's a water oak. But if you're at your garden club or your bowling league and somebody asks you what kind of a hardwood it is, just say it's a water oak. You got an 80% chance of being right, you know, whatever. People complain Houston hadn't have fall color. If anyone knows better than that, it should be you all. This is a real common tree here, a sweet gum. It makes brilliant fall color. It's actually a very, very important commercial crop. It's the original flavoring for chewing gum. The resin is great in chemicals. It's used in cosmetics, very valuable crop. Houstonians underrate the color. This picture is actually taken from the Dresden Botanical Gardens in Germany. So they kind of appreciate our colors. How you tell it, this is the ball that it drops on your lawn and you get mad when the lawnmower hits it. This is the sticker ball plant. That's a sweet gum. If you have grandkids, you stick peanut butter on that and hang it in the trees to feed the birds. Everybody got a magnolia in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I threw this in here because it makes my point that everything has a story. Big, heavy, glossy evergreen leaves. This is actually one of the oldest flowering creatures known to man. It's over 95 billion years old through the fossil records. But that tells you something. When you look at the flower, what strikes you about this flower compared to, say, a rose or a camellia?
Got heavy petals.
It's really thick
Yeah.
and heavy. And the leaves are thick and heavy, almost like a succulent cactus. Well, plants aren't stupid. They're not going to waste energy doing something if they don't need to. It takes a lot of nutrition and energy to make those flowers. The reason it does it is, I said this was an old flowering plant, 95 million years old. Bees, moths, butterflies didn't show up until about 25 million years later. It's pollinated by beetles and rough flies. So they're very rough pollinators. So the flower and the plant had to learn how to put up with these terrorists. So even though you see butterflies or flowers or whatever around them, that's not the real story. You've got this brushy underbrush kind of under canopy tree all over your neighborhood. It's a Yopon holly. And a couple of cool things about it. It's invasive. It'll fill up any place that it gets a chance. But I call it, my grandkids call it the Christmas flower, Christmas berry. This is a female. They have male and female. The female makes these red berries starting late November. But I typically, as I said, don't use Latin, but you don't really want to do what some people do. This is the only plant in North America that has caffeine. And you can dry the leaves, you can make tea out of it, and you can have caffeinated tea. If you're lazy, you can go to Whole Foods Market and buy it. You can buy it online, but I recommend not trying it. The Latin name is Ilex vomitoris. The story behind that is around 1539. A Spaniard was shipwrecked on Galveston. And about 3 years later, he was picked up, went back to Spain, and wrote a book about his adventures. And he talked about how the Kerouac Indians would make tea, drink this for about 3 days, be violently ill, and hallucinate and have religious hallucinations. Personally, I think if you drink gallons of caffeinated beverage for 3 days, you're going to hallucinate. Yeah. This is in your neighborhood. It's the female, the plant equivalent of the hog. This is the #1 invasive in the state of Texas. It's illegal to sell it, transplant it, give it away. We brought it here in the 20s because we wanted a plant that had good fall color, which it does. But if you cut it down, it will grow from the roots, 10 of them. It produces about 100,000 seeds a year. And like some beeches, it slowly poisons the soil around it to kill any other species.
Wow.
About 85% of the biomass now between I-10 and Galveston is Chinese tallow trees. They are truly taking over, and they crowd out And when the natives go, what else goes? The native birds, animals. When you see this leaf, and now you're going to see it by your shopping center, you're going to see it in your neighbor's yard, that is an evil tallow tree. And it's got a lot of oil. In Asia, they farm it for the oil, hence tallow. You make candles out of it, but it doesn't belong here. And the last one of those, you might see this walking around or kayaking. This is a forest killer. Remember all those forest fires we had up in Brenham and all around 2012?
Mhm.
This vine climbs up into the tree and it's deciduous, it dies, and you can see some of that and it creates long mats of dead vines going up to the crown of the trees. In nature, a fire just goes through, cleans out the under canopy and doesn't hurt the trees. But when you have a crown fire, it goes in the top of the trees, kills all the trees. This one obviously came from Japan, and it will strangle the forest just like kudzu. That's what it looks like. And part of the problem is it's a fern, so it doesn't make seeds. So if you just cut it and wave it around, you just spread probably 100,000 spores all over the dirt. So you have to bag it and get it in a landfill. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is this is actually what Texas looked like. People, when they go out with me in the woods, they say it's so great to see the native plants. And no, that's not what Texas looked like. Except in the river bottoms, Texas was a grassland. It was said it's knee-high to a man on a horse. And the reason for that was simple. If you ever watched old cowboy movies, think 1 million bison grazing across the ground, or a forest grass fire that's got a front that's 400 miles. So the fire raged across the grass. The buffalo bison raged across, ate all the woody shrubs, ate the trees, ate everything except the native grasses. This old boy's holding up a native blue stem grass. Look at the root structure. The large blue stems will grow 30, 40 feet deep. So they don't care about a little fire or losing their vegetation. They just pop right back up. The commercial crop next to them, you can see how deep its root structure is. The other good thing about the native grasslands is it's a bunch grass, so it's habitat for quail, rabbits, and those long roots transport water down into the aquifer. So the native grasslands replace the water in the aquifers that you're drinking today that we're not replenishing. So the fact is those grasslands are really the original vegetation that was in where you live. And with that, unless there's questions or other plants I can talk to you about, I'll turn it over. Anybody?
I have a question about the hogs. Are they still increasing, or is there a chance that they'll reach a carrying capacity and stop reproducing?
They are still increasing, and they're going to increase until they run out of things to eat. There's been work done on poison baits, but none of those have been successful. A&M is working on a bait using, if I've got this correct, sodium nitrate, which is actually what goes in the bacon you eat. It turns out that hogs can't process sodium nitrate, so we're basically experimenting with poisoning hogs with salt, which makes it safe for other animals if they eat the bait, or scavengers that eat the dead hogs. But right now they're out of control. You can trap them. Where I live, they're running 4 active hog traps, and as fast as you take them out, they're going to backfill.
What about are there, you said there are not as many hunters anymore. Does that mean that the deer numbers are also increasing?
That's why they've increased from 300,000 in the 20s to over around 335 million now. Yeah.
They're not being harvested fast enough, or
They're
just
not being harvested. They have no predators. And the other thing about deer is they're what's called an edge animal. You may not realize it, but the United States, continental United States now is more heavily forested than it was when the Pilgrims showed up.
No way.
You don't think of it as a forest. If you look at an aerial view of Kingwood, you're not going to see houses. You're going to see trees. It's a different kind of forest. And deer live, they get back in the deep cover, and then they come out in the dawn and dusk and eat the grasses on things like golf courses, the side of the road. We have created habitat that is ideal for deer. At the same time, we've removed all the predators.
Any other questions?
Well, you know, he touched a little bit on some places. I hate to get into birding, but I know there's a lot of people here. He
Right.
talked about some suggestions of earlier on. He quickly said something about some place that was pretty good for birds. Could you repeat
Yeah,
that?
let's see if I can. Let's see if I have any way to.
Sorry about that.
If I can, I'm gonna do this the slow way because otherwise I'm gonna lose the whole screen. So bear with me 32 seconds. And I'm gonna take you back up to the first slide, and I'm gonna urge you to go to bayoulandconservancy.org. And there, if you drill down, you can find guides to all their public preserves. But I encourage you to look and come up and take a tour on the Spring Creek Nature Trail. You can reach me at that email or through Jim Skeppins. I'll be happy to take groups out. But if you look on this, over on what would be your far left, there's a place called the Creekside Park West Trailhead. And that is between Kirkendall Road and Burroughs Road. You can find it very quickly looking for Burroughs Park on Google. That is where you see that little black indicator of a bridge has 5 very huge ponds, which are a premium birding area. And it's very accessible. I try and avoid it on the weekends now if I can, unless you go early as a birder would. But we actually have a couple of professional photographers who work in that area. There are a few other places I can point you to. We have a very beautiful pond that has active beaver lodges. So anywhere along from Gosling West has some real riparian forests, views of the creek. So there's a lot of good birding in there. And again, reach out either to me or through Jim if you want to bother Jim, and I can put you in touch with the birders, or I'll be happy to do a pop-up tour. I don't take 10 or 12 people out. I'll take 5 or 6 at a time and show you some of the area.
There you go, Ann. There's an idea for you.
I'll do it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop sharing if I can do that and let you all get back to your business.
Okay, John, we appreciate it so much.
Thank you. I apologize for the technical issues, but with that, I'll say have a good evening.
We'll all have a completely different view of the woods when we walk in, especially the nasty Chinese tallow trees.
Yep. Thanks, John.
All right, Bill.
Yes. Well, here's a picture of something stationary and a moving vehicle in the background there. That was, I've forgotten what speed, a slow shutter speed on a tripod. Makes sort of a interesting composition or comparison there.
Stop and go, yeah.
Stop and go. I was down in Herman Park once, and this little girl was up on a sort of a ledge, and she was jumping up. She was not over maybe a foot above the ledge, but I got down low, and she appears to be up above the treetops there. And so I've seen demonstrations, people just jumping off of a step with a photographer laying on the ground, and it appears that the person is, hundreds of feet in the air.
It's a possum.
Is that, that's not, what did?
And this picture here, if I had thought of laying down or getting down low here, instead of having all that junk in the background, I would have had this scooter rider up in the clouds. So that's an example of probably what not to do. And so if you want to get something really spectacular, you have to get down low to capture it against the sky and the trees.
Hey, Bill, where did you take that? Where was that taken? You know?
Just off of Lake Houston Parkway, there's a skate park.
Okay, I think
It's behind where, not the post office, but one of those, maybe the next street down from the post office.
yeah, I think I've seen that. I was just wondering, it might be a fun place to go sometime if the kids are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been over there a couple of times, and so they're always young kids there, and they're willing to have their picture made.
Yep, good.
Nice.
Is Chris here?
I don't think so.
He must have forgotten. Chris is always here. Well, this is a cool picture.
Yeah,
I wish Chris were here to tell us about this. Does anybody know what kind of birds those are?
Red-winged blackbirds.
Oh yeah, I see some of those in there.
Anyway.
It was probably his puppy that scared them.
Oh, right.
Could be. That looks like a pretty neat picture.
Very real.
I'd never thought of doing a time lapse, or I mean a long exposure on a Ferris wheel. That'd be fun.
That's good.
That's a neat picture.
It is.
Wow.
Here's a guy who doesn't know how to focus. Or no, I'm sure that's one of Chris's granddaughters. He only has like 23 of them. That's a good picture. Good. Okay, some really great pictures by me. You wouldn't believe the number of horse riders they wonder how many calves they let go at one time. No, that's actually a sequence of shots stacked together.
Wow.
Both the horse rider on the bottom and the guy on the top was a quick shutters, fast shutter speed, and then stacking them all to get the entire sequence.
Wow.
That this year or
That's
last
great.
year? Chuck?
No, that was actually last year. Steve got me in last year, and I took some pictures. I love that. If you watch the poor calf, he takes a tumble there at the end on the top picture,
Oh, yeah.
and then the bottom picture. You're just looking at that cowboy, the different positions coming out of the chute, accelerating out, laying way back, and then starting to buck as he goes out.
You know what else is accelerating? His brain inside his head.
Well, that's probably true. Well, that's why he keeps on coming back to do that. But it's fun to do trick shots like this because it sort of shows you the whole thing. And
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
that's mine. Emily.
Oh, this is me in Hawaii. These kids on surfboards having a great time. I love the water and expressions on their face. They're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of anticipation there with the wave.
And then this was over on the north shore of Lake Houston at the Cove. This dude caught a snake, and he would lift him up, and the snake would be wreathing all over, and then he'd stick the snake in the water for a while, and then he'd lift it up, and he did that until the snake was drowned. Then he just ate him, gulp, gulp.
So what kind of snake is that?
It's a water snake.
It
That's
is.
disgusting.
That's a good picture.
Yep.
Too bad the garbage in the background. Huh?
Yeah, I know. You
It's-
can't get away from that crowd.
No, you can't
I
get
have pulled from the Cove. I've pulled 8 bags of garbage.
Yeah.
just walking along the shore.
Yeah, I went out for a walk today and just around our trails here and came back with a full bag.
Yeah,
Garbage,
yeah, it's
and that's just
disgusting.
walking. Yeah.
And if you look on the west side of the Lake Houston Parkway, that's my next project. I'm gonna take my kayak over there and try and clean some of that crap out. Because you can't get a picture of a bird without junk in the background.
Yeah,
Right.
too bad. A pretty picture though.
Thank you. And then they had a kayak race at River Grove Park one time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty cool, You could see how hard they're working trying to get their speed up.
Yeah.
Long, long, skinny boats. They're fast on the water and they're going for it.
Yeah. Jim?
Yeah, these, there's actually two in the sequence here, this and another picture. That's my granddaughter, Kate, and these were taken up in North Carolina on a beach. I think it's Wrightsville Beach. And anyway, these are two of about 5 or 6 in sequence of her chasing these birds, whatever they are. And I was going to go ahead and print like 5 in sequence and make like a collage and mat it and everything from the beginning to the end when she finally catches up with the birds.
Hey, you could do it like I did the rodeo pictures,
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, in fact,
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because that's sort of fun. You could just make a whole picture with her doing it with the whole. That might be interesting. Yeah, poor birds.
Yeah. What kind of
Did
birds?
you have a tripod on your shots, Chuck?
Yeah, I set it up with a tripod so it was still the whole time, and I planned it. I had it on wide angle so I knew where he's going to run to.
Okay.
Okay, this is this September's motion picture. I was trying to scan along as that butterfly moved, and I managed to get him fairly well non-blurry. Shutter speed on that one is 1/1600th of a second.
Wow.
Next one. This spring, I got approval from the racetrack to go out and take photographs. In their rules for photography, they don't want you to come in with a lens longer than 4 inches.
Really?
My 100 to 400 lens is a little bit longer than that. So I worked to get approval, and they just bent over backwards to help me. For free, they let me have a suite up on the 3rd level, all to myself.
Wow.
Has sliding glass doors that open up right over the finish line.
Goodness.
They bent over backwards to accommodate me, and so it was kind of fun. So
Wow.
this one I took kind of as a stop action motion picture, but the next one I tried there, catch the motion. That one I was trying with a 1/15th of a second shot. And the problem with a horse and rider also in motion up and down, it didn't get them very clear. So I got to practice some more.
Well, that does show. I mean, that's a good motion shot, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
John?
Is John here? No, I don't see John.
I don't see John. Okay.
I guess it's competing in the horse stakes here.
Yep.
Okay, are these better than these? Okay.
Just
Oh, that's
give it-
cool. That's another one of those fair.
Yep.
Well,
That's a
that
good one.
Yeah, that is neat. I got to remember to do that next time I'm down at a fair or something.
Yeah.
Do it. I've been at a couple and I've never thought of doing that.
Oh, that's all.
That's nice. Kathy's not here either.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, did she still tell you anything about these or?
No, she didn't tell me anything. But obviously she got that probably from Hawaii
She
surfing.
does. That's a really
Yeah,
nice
she goes
picture.
there a lot.
Yeah,
That doesn't look like a Galveston wave.
No, it doesn't. That's a nice picture. I like the composition where she's got the right, and they got diagonal lines of the red waves coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice composition on that.
And the rule of thirds. the
Yeah,
rule of-
yeah. That's why I say his at the rule of thirds and the diagonal lines coming in to see him. That's very nice. Kathy here, another butterfly.
Dueling butterflies.
Yeah. Now the picture here is in focus. I mean, the flower is in focus. Yeah. Pretty. Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Are those robins, I guess?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
Robins don't usually do
they're
that.
not robins.
Yeah, if you look at the one on the right, it's a robin.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're beautiful birds.
Mhm.
Cedar wax.
That's a great job.
Mark,
Oh.
Yeah, this was up in Canada.
Canada.
Not Canada, but I'm sorry, Alaska. He was just tooling along, and the wake gives you the ideas in motion. And of course, the wake on the wonderful plane we were on. And there's my shot of a whale.
There you go.
You talk about motion. They had it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's classic.
that's pretty. Matt, are you here, Matt?
I think
I
he's
don't
here.
think he's
No, I don't see Matt either. Must not have gotten the meeting notice here. Okay, Matt, we've got somebody on whatever they call those things.
Oh, I never can remember.
Oh, that's the Metro downtown.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Very
That's-
nice.
Did Randy join this? She's in Florida. I saw something posted today. She's in Navarre.
Pretty. Very nice.
No, let's see. Yes,
I like that. Yeah, I like the wet sheen from the rain.
yeah. The bricks look nice there,
And the
don't they?
next one, it's like it's not even there, but you can see the,
The moon. Yeah, it looks, is that in the same spot? Very close to the same spot.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a little wider, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, I
the
like
ghost
the way.
train.
And you can see the people on the other side, right? You can see right through some people. It's a little bit blurred, but everything else is crisp. It's nice.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And look at the start burst of the lights up
Oh,
above.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
He has this stopped down pretty good.
yeah, very
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
Here's a field trip for us, Ann. We got to find some places like this.
Mhm.
Starburst on the stoplights down there. Stop down also.
Mhm.
Ron, are you here?
I don't see them.
No, I don't see him either. Okay. Mountain
There's
Street.
a little figure in the middle, see with the red shirt?
Yeah. Yep. You know, it's always interesting. I was in Iceland and we were in a photography trip, and our guide would get in. He had a red jacket on, and once in a while he'd get in the picture on purpose to give us scale. He'd walk down and we'd be taking picture of a lava field or something, and he'd get in the middle of it so we could have some scale there. It's a good idea sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
that's nice.
That looks like an Alaskan cruise.
Looks like an
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
inside passage shot. That's what-
Inside passage, yeah.
yeah, I've been there too. I love it. That's taken out of a window because you see the drops on the window there in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is so neat. God, I want to go cruising again so bad.
It's a great trip.
Mhm.
It's good old Alaska.
Yep.
Those are fun planes to fly on and go and see the bears and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Those
They're
are-
That'd be fun to go back to.
I have a friend that has one up in the Seattle area, and he and his wife just load up a picnic and go find a little lake and land and
yeah,
have a picnic and
yeah.
stop.
Alaska has hundreds of thousands of these little planes.
Mhm.
That's where they get around all over. Here's a neat one, Steve.
Okay, yeah, so this is from Alma Rodeo from like 3 years ago. In previous years, you get to the event that is the team roping, and it's impossible to get all 3 people together into a shot when you're doing this. Otherwise, you got to change lenses, and you don't have enough time to do it. So I was playing with just the speed of it, and this is about a fourth or a fifth of a second, and you just try to hang on with the rider or the horse. And this one's not too bad but he's kind of curving around, so it's kind of tough to make it completely clear for the rider. But the rope was colored, and so it really kind of makes a neat thing to see.
Yeah, it's a nice graphic.
Very cool.
It's neat of motion. It's neat.
Yep. Okay, and this is from Kingwood Soccer, boys soccer, from I guess earlier this year. Yeah, from January 26th. They were on the attack. They got the ball back and were heading after it. So again, everybody's kind of up in the air.
Yeah,
Going after the ball.
Yeah, they are.
yeah. Almost nobody's touching the ground. That's right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
And here's another Ferris wheel. This was from
Love it.
a couple of years ago at the Elbow Rodeo. This would be on not the night of the rodeo, but the cook-off.
Yeah.
And I was just taking a break and went out into the event things here with the rides, and took a bunch of pictures of people, and just playing with. And this is all handheld, so it's. And I did about 5 or 6 of these, and this was kind of the fun one that turned out the best. And you can see it's like a third of a second or 3/10 of a second.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the last time I was at one of these fairs. Was at the rodeo, and I didn't even think of doing this kind of thing. It's a neat little fair.
Yep.
Those angels.
Do we have him here?
I don't think
Thurl
so.
Jones.
No, I don't see him
I
here.
don't think I saw him.
Okay, Blue Angels. That's pretty.
Blue Angels.
Hey Chuck, just
Yeah.
to mention, when I first tried to get into the Zoom meeting, I was using the old link, and it was saying that it wasn't. The guy, you were already getting started with another one, so I had to go to the new link.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, and starting next month, there'll be a new link also.
Okay,
What
good.
we're doing is this sounds bad, cutting off anybody who's not renewed.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
starting this month, I'm sending out a new Zoom link and setting up a new meeting. So if you haven't renewed your membership, you can't use an old link to get in.
Yeah.
So no, I did a little bit early. Sorry.
Chuck,
no
do
problem.
we need to
I thought-
re-register for that, or will we get it automatically? I may already have it.
I will send you a new link for the new meeting. Okay, and then once you get it, that link, it'll be good through next year, March.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll
Yeah, I
still
just
send.
thought maybe that was the reason why we were missing so many people tonight.
Could be, some of them did, yeah. But I sent out a link thing this morning.
Yep.
And they should have used that, but anyways. Well, thanks for telling me that, though. I now feel bad. Okay. Okay, this is a waterfall. Why? Yeah, I love pictures like this. I drive my wife nuts when I go out and start taking pictures of streams. I love this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Call it silky water.
Mhm.
Well, if you come with us to South Dakota, I will make
Well,
sure you get on like 3 different waterfall settings and a whole bunch of water things like this. So.
Well, I plan to come. I plan to come. All right, Tim.
All right, I went for 3 different types of motion here, if you will. This is actually a friend of mine driving the exotic car experience. We were in Florida on vacation. So I was panning with him. I think it's like 100th of a second or so. Trying to get, if you zoom in, his face is relatively sharp and everything else is blurry. So it was kind of my first experience doing it, but it seems it came out all right.
I like the way you crop that too.
Where was this, Tim?
It was in Florida. It was actually at Disney's racetrack back when we had that there. You could rent a car and drive it. shooting it was fun, but I drove a Ferrari. He drove a Lamborghini, so
Oh,
that was much more fun actually.
I'll bet you. I'll bet you.
Nice.
So froze this one. I do a lot of shooting for our swim team, the neighborhood swim team here, summer league. So this is my daughter doing butterfly. I'm often laying or sitting, crouching, whatever, at the end of the pool, just to try to get that nice low angle of view.
That's
Do a little separation so
wonderful.
you're not looking down on them. But started off shooting my kids, and now I kind of just shoot for the whole team because I'm there.
That
But
is
when they get to
so
the end of the
good.
pool, you got to make sure to the camera out of the way, or the older kids will get you all wet.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that's good.
We missed that last year, so I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we get to do that again this year.
That's nice.
Great.
Love this one.
Here's my my slow shutter speed. This is Ocean Reef Park, I believe what it's called. It's just north of Palm Beach in Florida. It's a rocky, very sharp and slippery reef. I was maybe one step into it, set the tripod up, and I was kind of waiting for a sunset, but the water moving over these, the reef, the rocks, whatever we call this, was really neat. This is probably about a third of a second or so.
Then the fog on the.
And then you got the big wave in the background coming in. It would just kind of crash and cover it and then recede back over it. Pretty cool.
Those peach clouds in the background are wonderful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I didn't get a great sunset, but I got a little bit of color right there.
You don't need to. That's great. Yeah.
If you had a brighter sunset, it would have distracted, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I probably wouldn't have got the motion in the water.
Yeah. The lines in that are beautiful. Yeah. Maybe your eye wants to explore it. It's pretty nice. That's one I'd frame.
Yeah. Ooh, that's cool.
Okay, this is my fake motion picture. I actually experimented in my camera one day, and all this was a stationary object. This was just a table at a conference I was at. But what I did, instead of photographing something that was in motion, all I did was I set the shutter speed for about a half a second, and I spun my telephoto ring while it was taking the picture. And it creates this effect as if these light rays are emanating out from a central point.
Wow. Did you start in and go out, or out and go in?
In this case, it works either way. In this case, I think I went out with it. I don't actually remember, but if you've never done the technique, it's kind of an interesting way to simulate some kind of motion in something that doesn't have any motion. And so you can get some pretty cool effects with it. So just set it on a half a second and spin that telephone ring and see what you get. It's an interesting way to do that.
That's pretty neat.
Okay. This is I was trying to pan here. Yes, this was one of our safaris in Africa. This was a cheetah taking down a springbuck. And the only reason I was able to capture this actually is the whole takedown takes less than 5 seconds typically. I mean, it's really fast. But it just so happened that this mother cheetah that you see in the picture, she captured the springbuck, didn't kill it, and then trained her 3 young cheetahs that were with her babies, to hunt the springbuck. So she would let it go. The 3 would chase it down, try to take it down. They'd usually fail. She'd run next to them. And if they got away, she'd capture it again, release it. They'd run after it, capture it again. And so this happened 7 times over a 30-minute period, allowing me to capture some tremendous pictures. This is one of the less graphic of the pictures, so I didn't want to shock anybody.
It's terribly sad for the springbok, but
yeah, that's what I thought too. This poor springbok is like, kill me now. I'm tired. But yeah. And then this one here is it's the end of a fight of 2 leopards, and this is the winning leopards in the foreground. You can see him, with his teeth bared, scaring away the blurred leopard in the background. It's decided it's had enough, and it's taken off. So it's just.
Hey, Jim.
Yep. Is that all of them?
Your call.
Okay. Next meeting, April 20th, Steve's going to present sports photography. Since he did such a terrific job at the rodeo, I think, in the soccer, we're going to learn a lot about.
So let's call it sports/action photography.
There you go.
Because I got some other stuff too.
I like it.
Yep. So Steve will do that. The share and learn for April is spring, and spring has sprung. So we have a lot of opportunity to get some photos here in the next week or two, for sure. And in May, share and learn feathers and wings. I assume that's birds.
Airplanes have wings.
Unless you know
Yeah,
that there's a
it's like-
dinosaur that's roaming around.
I think the next thing that everybody needs to be on the alert is, and we picked the pop-up date for the wildflowers. I think is the next item.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I'm going to remind everybody to sign up for Jim's out of town deal. He wants to know. So we have a form on the website.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Think
Good.
we're done.
Yeah.
Any
Good
other
stuff.
comments before we close it down?
No, I just want to say hello to Dale Barrick. I see him over there. Hey, Dale.
Yeah.
Hi,
From the
Dale.
Woodlands. There you
And
go.
today is my birthday, and I kept getting up because family people kept coming over to see me.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I wasn't being rude and leaving intermittently because I was irritated or uninterested, but I kept having people come visit, so that was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and what I may try to do, if somebody will drop me a line or let Chuck know through the website, if anybody's interested in going over and taking a hike with John, Stacy over by those ponds.
Mhm.
We'll
Yeah.
set something up.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Depending on when you go,
Yeah.
yeah. Be in for
I'd
that.
like to.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All righty. I guess we're done.
Well, thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi,
See everybody.
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 Good to see you guys.
Okay,
Have a
see
great
Good to
everybody
see you,
next month.
Teresa.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.